Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you how I built a swing between two trees, and the way I did it was I purchased 16-foot long 2x8s pressure treated wood. It's about the distance between the two trees that I've got. I adhered the two boards together with it's about a 1/2 inch hex nut with a washer and a lock washer, and I did that across the beam here, about 5 of them all together to bring the two together. I also connected the two ends with some hex nuts, wood screws. And then for the hangers, I purchased these hangers from Amazon and had drilled holes underneath and used a square to drill the holes. Used 3/8 inch long carriage bolts, and once I drilled the holes, I pounded the carriage bolts 3/8 inch through. It's about the length of the bolts was about 10 inches long. Again, I used the wide washer and regular washer, and then a locking washer 3/8 inch, and did that across. I spaced the two hangers for the swings about 24-25 inches apart. I've got two swings that I'm planning to mount. I also took into account the distance between the two trees and how far apart I wanted the swings to be away from the tree branches. So now I'm going to hang up this beam onto the two trees in a little bit, and we'll check in then. So here's the beam mounted on the trees, and as I mentioned before, the trees are about 14 foot apart, so I got a 16-foot beam, 2x8s, and pressure treated wood with galvanized bolts and hardware. It was a bit of a pain to mount them onto the trees because the beam was pretty heavy, and I had to use a couple people to help me pull it up there, and I ended up having to mount a bolt above the beam and then use a string or a twine to pull it up, and then was able to drill some holes into the tree and mounted one side, one bolt, and then swung this side up again with another rope, and then fixed it to the tree. I used 4 bolts on either side. They are about I think 8 inches, 1/2 inch, and did 4 bolts on each side. I had used a bracket, as you can see underneath there. When I pulled the beam up to the tree, I rested it on that bracket. Brackets, I think it's about 5 inches angle. And in case you're curious about the tools I used, here are they. So I purchased a 3/8 inch long drill bit, about 10 inches long, and then a 1/2 inch drill bit to drill the holes into the boards, and then I use this longer one to drill into the tree so that I can put the bolts in more easily. Had secured it with a socket and got it started with a bit on the end of my drill. The other thing I'll mention is when I attached one side of the bolts, I made the holes a little bit bigger horizontally, maybe a 1/4 inch, than what's needed in the boards itself. And that I did that to give the tree an opportunity to move a little bit. If you know, if the wind picks up, it'll move a little bit on the board, and it won't compromise the board or the bolts. So we'll see how that works. I think that would help minimize the board breaking or the screws breaking over time. Other than that, it's pretty much ready to go. I leveled it, and the beam here is about 9 foot above the ground. And so now I'm going to be mounting the 2 swings on it, and hopefully this video is helpful for you. Again, when you mount the beam, make sure you get some help, because that was a bit of a struggle. But good luck with your project, and hopefully this will work out and my daughter will be very happy. So here's the final product. I had attached some swings from the hangers. I had purchased 66-inch long chains, and they weren't quite long enough. So I had to go to the local hardware store and buy some links to extend it with the other little clip. So I did that for those both swings. And then you'll notice at the top of the beam, I had added another 2x4 beam on top of it. And what had happened was my daughter's 14 and her friend were swinging on it, and I noticed that there was some deflection, a little bit too much deflection, which means that the beam was swinging too far forward and backward when they were swinging on it. Everything was fine, but I just wanted to have a little bit sturdier beam for that to minimize that issue. So I had purchased a 2x4, and I didn't mention it before. This is number 2 Southern Pine. They're both, the bottom and the top are pressure treated or treated wood. But anyway, I purchased another 2x4, put it on top, and marked the holes where the bolts were. And luckily the bolts that I had for the swing hangers extended a little over 2 inches on top, so I was able to just mark the holes, drill some holes into the 2x4, remove the bolts from the 2x8 below it, and then reattached it after pounding the 2x4 above or down on top of those screws or the bolts, and then re-screwed it on top. So it actually worked out pretty well. I also used some lag bolts where it wasn't attached to the swings to attach the 2x4 to the 2x8 below it in a few different spots, and then that's it. So yeah, overall it worked out well. What I would suggest is if you are going to be building a swing that has heavier weighted kids or adults on there, that you may want to consider this before you put the beam up, and it should be a little bit easier for you. And I prefer that going the other direction, given the wood grain is in the other direction compared to the 2x8, so it provides a little bit more stability on the forward-backward deflection, as I had mentioned before. But good luck with your project, and it turned out pretty well. My daughter's very happy with it, and enjoy your time building this. I did. Thanks. Bye.